If you think bikes from Ducati and BMW are the top of the line, you're mistaken. They're just stepping stones. The real endgame, the absolute pinnacle of two-wheeled engineering, is the bike we're tackling today. This is the kind of machine you only get when money is no object, the MV Agusta Brutale 1000RR. I was scrolling through an online auction when I found it, a 2022 MV Agusta Brutale 1000RR. This isn't just any bike, it's the holy grail. But this one was special for another reason. It was one of only 150 limited edition units made worldwide. Its rarity is off the charts. The only catch? It was a fire-gutted wreck. With a starting bid of just $450, I figured the catastrophic damage would scare most people away. Man, was I wrong. I completely underestimated this bike's appeal, and the price started climbing fast, quickly blowing past the $2,000 mark. The auction listing confirmed it was #19 of the 150 ever made. I knew this was a once-in-a-lifetime chance to own a legend, so I dug deep. After a fierce bidding war, I won it for the hefty price of $5,300. After what felt like an eternity, delivery day arrived. I waited by the road, my heart pounding with anticipation. Soon, a tow truck pulled up carrying a single, charred motorcycle. It was my MV Agusta. The driver and I didn't waste any time getting it unloaded. Up close, it was even worse than the pictures. The rear wheel was a melted puddle, and many components were burnt beyond recognition. Rebuilding a bike this far gone was going to be a hell of a challenge. After the truck left, I started my full assessment. It looked like the fire started from a fuel leak. Remnants of the melted carbon fiber rear wheel were fused to the frame. Both the fuel tank and the instrument cluster had been liquefied by the intense heat. But for me, a challenge like this is what makes a project fun. An easy fix is just boring. Getting it into the workshop was a workout, and that's when I discovered the swing arm was also completely toast, unsalvageable. At this point, trying to list all the ruined parts was pointless. The priority was to get it on the lift and start the teardown. A few months later, with parts finally starting to trickle in, I got to work. I carefully removed what was left of the instrument cluster, hoping to salvage the electronics inside. Then I tackled the nightmare of the melted fuel tank. It had literally fused itself to the frame. In the end, I had no choice but to take a saw and cut it off piece by piece. After half a day of wrestling with it, the tank was finally gone, revealing a torched airbox underneath. My only hope was that the engine itself was spared, protected by the metal throttle bodies. I salvaged what I could. The burnt battery was junk, but the core of the dashboard seemed like it might be usable for testing later. Even the steering damper had some minor damage. As I dug deeper, I found some good news. The radiator and the exhaust system seemed to have escaped the worst of the fire. With a bit of work, they could be reused. That was all the motivation I needed. I stripped off the exhaust and the rest of the charred carbon fiber bits. With the bike stripped down, the only thing left to do was to get the engine out. I removed the subframe, and with the help of a few family members, we muscled the heavy engine out of the frame. I could now see that the ignition coils were completely fried, so I immediately ordered new ones. The moment of truth had arrived. I had to know if the engine's internals were okay. I started taking it apart, and to my immense relief, the inside was pristine. The heart of this Brutale 1000RR, the very thing that makes this bike a legend, had survived the inferno. Just as I was celebrating, a massive box arrived. It was the first of many new parts, a brand new frame shipped all the way from Italy. With the engine on the bench, I continued stripping off the damaged external components. The front end was in much better shape, but I needed to tear it down completely to be sure. The front forks and the front carbon fiber wheel looked surprisingly good. Just then, another huge package arrived. I opened it to find a brand new swing arm, a massive win. I turned my attention to the front forks. I needed to clean off the soot and check the internal springs and pistons. Draining them revealed plenty of fork oil, a great sign they weren't blown. But the burnt finish was an eyesore. I used a chemical stripper to remove the old gold anodized coating, leaving them with a clean, matte silver finish. Next, I inspected the fried ECU. I opened it up, but it was a lost cause, completely cooked. The salvage dashboard, however, looked promising for at least getting the bike started later. The triple clamps and steering assembly were also in good shape, needing just a bit of welding repair, which was no problem for me. I decided the silver finish on the forks wasn't good enough. I took the time to polish them to a mirror shine, and they came out looking brand new. The carbon fiber front wheel also cleaned up beautifully. More boxes started arriving daily. A new fuel tank, clutch and throttle grips, a new seat, and the star of the show, a stunning brand new carbon fiber rear wheel from MV Agusta. It's not just a wheel, it's a work of art. I found a used tire in the shop, stripped it off an old rim, and mounted it onto my new carbon wheel. With a good portion of the major parts collected, I did a mock-up assembly: frame, swing arm, engine, and wheels to make sure everything fit perfectly. Thankfully, it all went together without a hitch. But the next day, I hit a snag. The front fork I had just painstakingly restored was leaking. That threw a wrench in my plans. I also had to scrap the fire-damaged front tire and install a fresh one. Soon, another shipment of OEM parts arrived straight from Italy. A new wiring harness, coolant temperature sensor, fuel lines, and more. With these in hand, I could finally start replacing the last of the just good enough parts. I installed the new components on the engine, gave it a thorough cleaning, and it started to look incredible. The alternator side of the engine case was badly scorched, so I sanded and repainted the chain cover and gave the alternator itself a fresh coat of high-temp black paint to hide the damage. With the engine prep done, it was time for the best part, mounting it back into the brand new frame. I also installed a new high-performance TTX rear shock. Next, I swapped out the old engine oil, filter, and clutch components. The exhaust system, being in decent shape, just needed a thorough polishing before it was reinstalled. It came out looking almost as good as new. The radiator was salvageable, so I took it to the sandblaster to strip it down to bare metal, then gave it a fresh coat of black paint. With a new fan installed, the cooling system looked factory fresh. One of the most critical moments came next: installing the brand new wiring harness. I hooked up the battery, put the key in, turned it, and the dashboard lit up. We had life. This was a massive milestone. More boxes brought the finishing touches: a new headlight and the rest of the bodywork. I also decided to order a brand new set of gold front forks to match the original spec and replace the leaking set. Finally, the home stretch. I began installing all the beautiful new bodywork: the airbox filter, the tail section with its iconic light, the custom swing arm covers, and an aggressive carbon fiber front brake cooling duct, a perfect touch for a bike that's already a piece of art. The new fuel tank went on, followed by the wings on the side and the rest of the fairings. With the final piece of the exhaust bolted on, the 2-year restoration of this MV Agusta Brutale 1000RR was complete. I filled the tank with fuel, took a deep breath, and hit the starter. After a brief sputter, the engine roared to life. The sound is unreal, a raw mechanical symphony that could give a $1 million supercar a run for its money. So, after 2 years of work, here it is. The burnt-out wreck is gone. In its place stands the reborn 2022 MV Agusta Brutale 1000RR. While this summary skips over countless small details and challenges along the way, the final result speaks for itself. It's a masterpiece.